There are two telegrams. The first one say, have just heard that Barrymore is at the hall. 2. Baskerville. And the second one say, visited 23 hotels as directed, but sorry, to report unable to trace cut sheet of times. From Cartwright. There go two of my threads, Watson. There is nothing more stimulating than a case where everything goes against you. We must cast round for another scent.
We have still the cabman who drove the spy.
Exactly. I have wired to get his name and address from the official registry. I should not be surprised if this were an answer to my question.
I got a message from the head office that a gent at this address had been inquiring for 2704. I've driven my cab this 7 years, and never a word of complaint. I came here straight from the yard to ask you to your face what you had against me.
I have nothing in the world against you, my good man. On the contrary, I have half a sovereign for you if you will give me a clear answer to my questions.
Well, I've had a good day and no mistake. What was it you wanted to ask, sir?
Now, Clayton, tell me all about the man who came and watched this house at 10 o'clock this morning and afterwards followed the two gentlemen down Regent Street.
The truth is that the gentleman told me that he was a detective and that I was to say nothing about him to anyone.
You say that your fare told you that he was a detective?
Yes, he did. When
did he say this?
When he left me.
Did he say anything more?
He mentioned his name.
Oh, he mentioned his name, did he? That was imprudent. What was the name that he mentioned?
He said his name was Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
A touch, Watson, an undeniable touch. I feel a foil as quick and supple as my own. He got home upon me very prettily that time. So his name was Sherlock Holmes, was it?
Yes, sir, that was the gentleman's name.
Excellent. Tell me where you picked him up and all that occurred.
He hailed me at 9:30 in Trafalgar Square. He said that he was a detective, and he offered me 2 guineas if I would do exactly what he wanted all day and asked no questions. I was glad enough to agree. First we drove down to the Northumberland Hotel and waited there until 2 gentlemen came out and took a cab from the rank. We followed their cab until it pulled up somewhere near here.
This very door.
Well, I couldn't be sure of that, but I dare say my fare knew all about it. We pulled up halfway down the street and waited an hour and a half. Then the 2 gentlemen passed us, walking, and we followed down Baker Street and along.
I know.
Until we got 3/4 down Regent Street. Then my gentleman threw up the trap, and he cried that I should drive the cab like wind to Waterloo Station as hard as I could go. We were there under the 10 minutes. Then he paid up his 2 guineas, like a good one, and away he went into the station. Only just as he was leaving he turned round and he said, "It might interest you to know that you have been driving Mr. Sherlock Holmes." That's how I come to know the name.
How would you describe Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
Well, he wasn't altogether such an easy gentleman to describe. I'd put him at 40 years of age, and he was of a middle height, 2 or 3 inches shorter than you, sir. He was dressed like a toff, and he had a black beard, cut square at the end, a upside-down mustache, and a pale face. I don't know as I could say more than that.
Well, then, here is your half-sovereign. There's another one waiting for you if you can bring any more information. Good night.
Good night, sir, and thank you.
Snap goes our third thread, and we end where we began. The cunning rascal. He knew our number, knew that Sir Henry Baskerville had consulted me, spotted who I was in Regent Street, conjectured that I had got the number of the cab and would lay my hands on the driver, and so sent back this audacious message. I tell you, Watson, this time we have got a foeman who is worthy of our steel. I've been checkmated in London. I can only wish you better luck in Devonshire. But I'm not easy in my mind about it.
About what?
About sending you. It's an ugly business, Watson, an ugly dangerous business, and the more I see of it the less I like it. Yes, my dear fellow, you may laugh, but I give you my word that I shall be very glad to have you back safe and sound in Baker Street once more.
4 days passed away, and at last on Saturday morning we were ready to leave for Baskerville Hall.
Wait, Watson, I want to give you some last-minute instructions. I will not bias your mind by suggesting theories or suspicions, Watson. I wish you simply to report facts in the fullest possible manner to me, and you can leave me to do the theorizing.
What sort of facts?
Anything which may seem to have a bearing, however indirect, upon the case, and especially the relations between young Baskerville and his neighbors, or any fresh particulars concerning the death of Sir Charles. I have made some inquiries myself in the last few days, but the results have, I fear, been negative. One thing only appears to be certain, and that is that Mr. James Desmond, who is the next heir, is an elderly gentleman of a very amiable disposition, so that this persecution does not arise from him. I really think that we may eliminate him entirely from our calculations. There remain the people who will actually surround Sir Henry Baskerville upon the moor.
Would it not be well in the first place to get rid of this Barrymore couple?
By no means. You could not make a greater mistake. If they are innocent, it would be a cruel injustice, and if they are guilty, we should be giving up all chance of bringing it home to them. No, we will preserve them upon our list of suspects. Then there is a groom at the hall, if I remember right. There are 2 moorland farmers. There is our friend Dr. Mortimer, whom I believe to be entirely honest, and there is his wife, of whom we know nothing. There is this naturalist, Stapleton, and there is his sister, who is said to be a young lady of attractions. There is Mr. Franklin, of Laughter Hall, who is also an unknown factor, and there are 1 or 2 other neighbors. These are the folk who must be your very special study.
I will do my best.
You have arms, I suppose?
Yes, I thought it was well to take them.
Most certainly. Keep your revolver near you night and day, and never relax your precautions.
Hey, Dr. Watson, Sir Henry is waiting for you in the compartment. Please go. I want to speak to Mr. Holmes 1 minute.
What do you want to tell me?
I can swear to one thing, and that is that we have not been shadowed during the last 2 days. We have never gone out without keeping a sharp watch, and no one could have escaped our notice.
Very well.
I must take your leave now. Goodbye.
Avoid the moor in those hours of darkness when the powers of evil are exalted.
Come on, Dr. Mortimer, hurry up. I've been over a good part of the world since I left it, Dr. Watson, but I have never seen a place to compare with it, such as Devonshire. I never saw a Devonshire man who did not swear by his county.
It depends upon the breed of men quite as much as on the county. A glance at our friend here reveals the rounded head of the Celt, which carries inside it the Celtic enthusiasm and power of attachment. Poor Sir Charles's head was of a very rare type, half Gaelic, half Ivernian in its characteristics. But you were very young when you last saw Baskerville Hall, were you not? Sir Henry.
I was a boy in my teens at the time of my father's death, and had never seen the hall, for he lived in a little cottage on the south coast. Thence I went straight to a friend in America. I tell you, it is all as new to me as it is to Dr. Watson, and I'm as keen as possible to see them all.
Sir Henry, the journey has ended. Welcome to Devonshire.
Don't know when he will be caught. Yes. But duty is duty.
Who are these policemen talking about? It was in the newspaper that a prisoner named Selden has escaped from the central jail.
Yes, I suppose these policemen are in search for him.
Well, let's go to the Baskerville Hall.
Yes, let's go.
What are you thinking, Dr. Watson? Nothing, just about the legend of Hound and the Moor.
Sir Henry, I must take your leave now. I'll come tomorrow. Goodbye.
Very well, Dr. Mortimer. Ah, there's the Baskerville Hall.
Hello, Sir Henry. I'm Barrymore. Welcome to the Baskerville Hall.
Thanks, Barrymore. I will introduce you to Dr. Watson, a friend of mine.
Welcome, sir. Sir, may I take you directly to the room?
No, Barrymore. We'll see the Baskerville Hall first.
Very well.
Baskerville Hall is just as I imagined it. Is it not the very picture of an old family home? To think that this should be the same hall in which for 500 years my people have lived. It strikes me solemn to think of it.
I've put your luggage in your room, Sir Henry.
Great.
Would you wish dinner to be served at once, sir?
Is it ready?
In a very few minutes, sir. You will find hot water in your rooms. My wife and I will be happy, Sir Henry, to stay with you until you have made your fresh arrangements, but you will understand that under the new conditions this house will require a considerable staff.
What new conditions?
I only meant, sir, that Sir Charles led a very retired life, and we were able to look after his wants. You would, naturally, wish to have more company, and so you will need changes in your household.
Do you mean that your wife and you wish to leave?
Only when you have settled well, sir. Sir, I will serve you your dinner now.
We had our dinner and I went to my bedroom. Sir Henry came in. Ah, Dr. Watson, it isn't a very cheerful place. I suppose one can tone down to it, but I feel a bit out of the picture at present. I don't wonder that my uncle got a little jumpy if he lived all alone in such a house as this. However, if it suits you, we will retire early tonight, and perhaps things may seem more cheerful in the morning. Yeah, I hope so. Good night, Sir Henry. Good night. He went out of room. I wonder what is the secret of this lonely and silent but dangerous moor. Ah, let's go to sleep. Who is that crying? Sounds like a woman.